All right, everyone, welcome in. Hope you're all having a fantastic day so far, having a great week. Hope 2025 is still off to a good start for you and that you're making some traction on whatever goals you put into place. I'm not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions, but if you made them, I hope that you're sticking with them, being a better parent, getting in shape, stop eating so much. Whatever it is that you've got, hope that you're on track with that. I personally am not with a lot of the things that I wanted to do. Like one of them was actually planning out the episodes and not just freeballing it every week the day before I'm going to release the fucking episode. But at least I'm staying true to releasing one per week, and I'm gonna stick with that. But got a good episode, or at least a good concept planned for you today. I'm gonna try and make sure I don't go completely off the fucking tracks with this one. That being said, before we get going, I ask for it at the end of each episode with whatever the automatic thing that I say in the beginning at the end. But if you're listening, if you're a regular listener, you enjoy the show, and you've got something that you'd like me to talk about, please hit that little send me a message about this episode. Let me know what you think about the episode. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to touch upon in other episodes, whatever it is. You could also shoot me an email. All the links are provided on the website or on the Instagram page. But I'm definitely looking for what you guys want to listen to, since I am seeing that there are a couple of regular listeners out there, and I really appreciate you guys and want to make sure that whatever I'm talking about is relevant and pertinent and not just whatever the fuck is going on in my life at this point in time. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into what I wanted to talk about today. And it's kind of funny. This has been something that I've thought about for quite some time, being a parent and just having my own parents growing up and some of the things that I went through when I was a kid. Not to say that my parents were terrible, but we all have different things that we go through when we're growing up. My elder son, he's 5.5. Sometimes he'll get scared at night and he'll come crawl into my room with us or crawl into bed. And I remember that I used to do that when I was young too. I would get scared in my room by myself and either go lay on the floor next to my parents' bed or go tell them that I was scared. Whatever it was, I would go to them because I was scared. And it's definitely super annoying as a parent to be woken up, and sometimes a little scary. My son the other night, he came up to me, grabbed me by the neck to climb into bed and woke me from my sleep. And I already tend to wake up like in a very defensive way. I've jumped out of bed before thinking that there was an intruder in the house. There was no one there. I was just dreaming, and I went straight into the wall. My head went through the drywall, and I had to patch it up before we sold that house. It was a thing. My wife's been scared ever since that I'm just going to absolutely demolish one of our kids when they wake me up in the middle of the night because I'm a psychopath. That being said, he came in and he grabbed me by the neck. I woke up a little defensive, but I realized it was him with his little hands, pulled him into bed, gave him a hug, picked him up, walked him down to his room, rubbed his head, told him it was time to go back to sleep. It was about 1 a.m. Laid down next to the bed next to him for a little bit and waited for him to fall back asleep. And then I went back to bed, fell asleep, and that was that. But it got me thinking about this concept of safe spaces, but not the way that you think about it in today's society. You always hear people talk about like, oh, I need a safe space, or in college, someone has a differing opinion and they're like, oh, I need my safe space. These people are attacking me with their different ideas and their logic and reason. It's not that type of safe space that I'm talking about. It's being a parent and being a safe space for your kids. Being a place where they go when they're scared, or where they're in a place where they're dysregulated and they don't know what to do. And so they come to you, they rely on you, and you're that place that they can go to for safety, for comfort, for whatever it is that they need in that moment. And I've got that with my kids right now, thankfully. I could obviously fuck this up in the future. I don't want to fuck this up in the future, but it's just something to be mindful of. And this concept of being our kids' safe space is something that I really like. And I wanted to just kind of go into a couple of different things with that today as I think about it. And I realize that I have differing feelings when it comes to this concept of the safe space, because as we talked about in last week's episode and previous episodes, is that I do think that we should be pushing our kids to strive towards greatness, that we should be helping our kids grow up, that we should have tough love, that we should let them know when they're doing something wrong, and that we can't just sit there and affirm everything that they say or let them do whatever the fuck they want. We can't let them sit there and be these little tyrants. Kids don't know what they want. They have irrational fears. They have all these other things that go along with them. But at the same time, you can be that. I can be the dad who has tough love. I can be the dad who's pushing my kids towards greatness, towards being a good person, towards constantly improving, but also be the person that they come to when they don't feel safe. I don't have to be a dick to push them forward. I don't have to be a fucking cocksucker who's always just sitting there ragging on my kids, or if they come to me and they're afraid of something, be like, oh, you're stupid, there's nothing to be afraid of, and invalidating their fear. Because even though there may not be a fear that, or whatever they're afraid of, that may not be real, right? They're afraid of the boogeyman. Obviously, you're not going to be like, oh, the boogeyman's real and dad's going to kick the shit out of it. You don't want to validate the fear that they've got, but you also don't want to invalidate the feelings that they've got. Because I remember when I was a kid and I was scared shitless, like it didn't matter what anyone told me. My mind wasn't ready to believe that that was true, and I can still be fearful of it. It's just like today. I mean, I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of flying. I don't like doing that shit. Is flying relatively safe? 100%. Doesn't matter what the fuck you say to me. Doesn't matter if you tell me that turbulence is completely normal. I don't fucking care. I don't care at all. I'm still afraid of it. And why would I expect my kids to be any different with fears that are just as quote unquote irrational? So yeah, I just don't want it to get conflated that what I'm talking about today in terms of being a safe space for your kids, being a place where they come to you when they're afraid, with letting them do whatever they want, or validating things that are completely irrational, or telling them like, oh, this is true, or I don't know, just not being a parent about it, just letting them run rampant, letting their imagination run rampant, and letting them have these fears and let them continue growing. You can be somewhere in the middle to where you can try to squish the fears, but at the same time, just hold them and let them know, hey, it's okay. And that's what I try to do quite a bit. Not in a lot of other areas of my life. I really struggle with empathy and being gentle in so many other aspects of my life. But when it comes to my kids, for some reason, I don't know if it's because I'm able to look back and see the little kid that I was, a little scared kid that I was, and the fact that I had to grow up a little bit quicker when it came to those fears. I was constantly scared of things. People made fun of me. Parents made fun of me for certain things. Parents tried to scare me, and it almost forced me to kind of grow this tough exterior in order to not feel those things, to not be afraid, to fall into line in what society or what my family or what others thought that I should be. With me and with my kids, I personally think that creating a safe space and being the person that they come to and not being the one that they have to worry about, like we already have a ton of shit we need to worry about in this life. There's plenty of people out there that are going to fucking scare us. Plenty of people out there that are going to try and tear us down. Plenty of people that are going to try and poke holes in us and what we do. The world is full of slings and arrows. And I know this. I know it's true. And I don't need to be an additional sling and arrow for my kid. I don't need to be an additional obstacle for them or an additional hardship to them, because they're going to already have a tough enough time going through life as it is. So why would I add additional pressure, additional stress, and be an additional obstacle for them in these things, as opposed to being the loving parent that's there to help them guide through these things. But then at the same time, they can come to me with their fears, with their concerns, with all these things. Because if they're not bringing them to me, they're going to take them somewhere. They're either going to internalize them and have issues that pop up later in lives. They're going to take it to their friends who are going to guide them in the wrong direction. Shit, in a scary world, they may take it to an adult, another adult who you don't know, who you don't trust, who can guide them in a completely, absolutely terrible direction, just away from you, away from family, away from love. And that's a huge concern of mine, is that if I'm not the space that my kids bring their concerns, bring their fears, who are they going to? Where are they going to? Are they going to the internet? Are they going to another adult? Are they going to their friends? I don't know. I'm not sure where they would be going. And luckily right now, like, my kids are young. And as I've said, I am a safe space for my kids right now. They come to me. They come to me with those when they're afraid. They cry for dad or mom sometimes too, obviously. You know, me and my wife are a team, but I'm just speaking about me directly right now. They come to us. They give us a hug. They bury themselves deep in my chest and maybe it's the part of me that thinks that I'm a superhero and wants to be the big, strong protector that just relishes in the fact that when they don't feel safe, they come to me and I can wrap my arms around them or give them a hug or give them a kiss. And that just helps so much to make them feel relieved, to feel like they're safe again, and to feel like they can turn around and face whatever the issues are. And don't get me wrong, there have been times where I've violated this trust or this quote unquote safe space that I've tried to create for them. There have been times where my eldest gets, he's at that age. He's 5.5. This is where they start pushing buttons and try to be annoying, and they got the weird voices and they say weird shit that they're picking up from school. And there have been times where I've yelled at him. I've gotten gruff. I've raised my voice quite a bit, told him he's doing something bad, and I can see the points in where he's actually afraid of me. And luckily, I haven't done it too much where he's like legit afraid of me. There have been maybe 1 or 2 times where I've raised my voice a little too loud and been a little too intimidating, which it doesn't help that I'm already larger than most adult males and have been told that I have a presence that can be intimidating sometimes. Not my words, other people. That doesn't necessarily help, especially with young children. I don't realize that my intensity is already like at this level. And so if I just get a little bit more angry or a little bit more animated, it's like I've taken the fucking intensity from like a 6, 5, 6 up to like an 11. Just took that dial, turned it to 11. But I'm lucky because I've grown up and have learned that I do have a short fuse and I can get angry, and I've had to become more and more aware of the fact that that has a bigger impact on my kids than it does other people. Or I'm sure I have a big impact on other people as well, but I just don't give a shit as much with other people. With my kids, I really care because I never, ever want my kids to be afraid of me. I don't want them to withdraw from me with their fears, with their hopes, with anything. I want my kids to be able to come to me for anything that they need. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not able to still have discipline and still have boundaries and still help guide them along the way. I think a lot of times with many millennial parents or gentle, quote unquote, gentle parents or whatever the fuck you want to call it nowadays, I don't really give a shit about the titles, but anyone who's a mindful parent, I feel like sometimes it's very easy to go down the path of just letting them do what they want, validating the fears, or like saying like, oh yeah, that's really scary, or you're afraid of the boogeyman. Oh yeah, I'd be afraid of the boogeyman too. Instead of being like, hey, the boogeyman's not real, but I know that you're afraid right now and it's okay to be afraid. You validate that emotion as being something that's okay, that's rational, without verifying that whatever they're afraid of is real or that it's something that they should be afraid of. And that happens in a lot of areas, I feel like, today. No, I don't have any data to back that up besides the fact that I just kind of see how people raise and treat their kids, and a lot of the things that I see from Insta psychologists, Insta moms, Insta dads on validate, verify whatever your kids are feeling or whatever they're going with. Like that's what it is. Kids know what's going on. Your job is to be a safe space, but also to be a guiding hand with the kids and take them down this path and help them find the right way. And you may not know the right way. When I say the right way, there is no objective right and wrong in a lot of the things that we're going to come across. It's more so just how you were raised, the type of person you are, and the way that you feel like is the best to guide them through this world. And ultimately, my hope with all of this is not just for them to come to me in the middle of the night, or, my son, he's a procrastinator. He's just like his father. He's a huge procrastinator. He's even better at me in some instances. And bedtime is one of those times where he is a master procrastinator. He will find any reason not to go to bed whatsoever. And he's a person of habit and routines. And so if you do something one time, he latches onto it and he wants to do that routine again. But I was kind of thinking about, there was a night where he was hungry and he wanted a snack, and it was bedtime, but it wasn't too late to where he couldn't stay up a little bit longer. And so instead of being like, nope, you go to bed hungry, you didn't eat enough of your dinner, or you should have eaten more dinner if you don't want to be, if you didn't want to be hungry, we let him stay up with us. We let him stay up. I was cleaning the dishes. His mom was, doing something else in the kitchen, and we got him some peanut butter pretzels or something like that, peanut butters and apples. It doesn't really matter what it was. And he got to sit down and sit there with us and have his snack and drink some milk and then, brush his teeth and all that stuff. But it was just such a different interaction because he felt safe enough. He felt comfortable enough to come to us with the fact that he was hungry, and it wasn't anything that like he had done wrong. He was just still hungry, and he was getting to that age. It was like right at that transition period where he was kind of starting to stay up a little bit later and also starting to eat more food. I think it was when he was like 4 years old. So we were starting to think like, hey, he might need these nighttime snacks to help him stay satiated until he's waking up in the morning. Anyways, it was just nice to feel like he felt comfortable enough to come to me as his dad, to come to his mom, to come to the people that are like the disciplinarians, the adults, to ask us for this and to not feel fear in asking for something this simple. Because I know that even me as a kid, or people growing up, or kids out there today who live in not necessarily the best situations, they may be fearful of retaliation or getting yelled at or getting smacked from their parents if they're like, I'm hungry and it's right at bedtime or something like that. And so it felt good that he felt safe enough to bring that to me. And ultimately my goal with both of my kids, or however many kids that I have, hopefully we'll have at least one more. My goal is for them to be able to come to me even when they might be scared or they don't feel comfortable. I want them to come to me when it matters. I want to show them when it's these little things like getting a snack, or they're scared at night and they come into my room and, kind of wake me up or whatever, or they ask me for something that they know they're probably not going to get. Like when he asked me for candy or chocolate or something like that. I don't want to be the dad that just fucking blows his lid and loses my shit, because that's going to show them that if they come to me with something hard, or if they do something that's wrong or not the right time or whatever it is, they're afraid, but it's dad sleeping. I don't want them to lose it. I don't want to start showing them that stuff on these little things, because that means that when they're older, they're already going to be in this rut or this like routine of thinking that I can't bring these things to my dad because he's going to lose his shit. He's going to get angry, and I don't want him to get angry at me. I don't want to face those repercussions. Not necessarily that I don't have repercussions for any wrongdoings they do right now, but it doesn't have this emotional burden that comes along with it of dad lost his shit, dad's disappointed in me, dad fucking yelled at me. It doesn't have all of that stuff with it. I want them to be able to come to me when they're older. Say they go out, they drink alcohol, their friends drink alcohol, and their friend wants to drive, their friend who was supposed to drive them home got drunk. I want them to call me. I want them to call me and be like, Dad, I need you to come and pick me up. I had alcohol, I drank, and our friend drank, and I don't have a safe way to get home. I want them to come to me with these hard things. I never want them to feel like they're not going to be loved anymore, that I'm going to be so disappointed or so angry. I don't want to have this harsh emotional reaction to when they do things like that, because then they're not going to come to me with them, especially when it matters. I want my kids as adults or young adults or teenagers to trust in me and to be able to face the consequences that may come, knowing that they're going to have consequences, knowing that there's going to be something bad, not necessarily something bad, but like there is going to be a consequence to their action. But the consequence is not going to be that dad loves me less. The consequence is not going to be that dad loses his shit and yells at me and screams at me and doesn't let this go and holds it over my head for fucking ever. I don't want that for them. I don't want that for me. And in all honesty, if I do shit like that, like I say all the time, we're constantly modeling for our kids how we should behave, how we should act. And what we're showing them is that if we have this huge blow up reaction to something small, especially when they're younger, it shows them that dad can't handle these things. I don't have the emotional maturity to handle the things that they're bringing to the table, that I can't handle when they do something wrong, or that if they are scared or they have fears or they have questions, that I'm not emotionally stable enough to be the support that they need. I'm not the safe space that they need in their lives. And so it's my job as a dad to be that. To It's okay if we slip up. You're going to get mad, you're going to yell, you're going to break that trust once in a while. It's more so acknowledging it. If you do it, apologize. There's nothing wrong with apologizing to your kids. Apologize, repair, and then try to be that space for them. I want that for my kids. I'm a dad who loves, I like tough love. I'm someone who, it can be very hard, very harsh. I have disciplinarian tendencies for sure, but at the end of the day, I never want my kids to be fearful of me. I want them to have respect for me, and I want them to listen to me. And I'm sure that some of that is going to be fear. I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, they need to fear you to respect you. They can be your friend later. I'm not even saying they need to be my friend. I want my kids to know that I have unconditional love for them, that I'm a safe space for them to go to, and that regardless of whatever happens, that I will always love them and I will always give them the support they need, and that they can come to me with their fears. They can come to me with their hopes, their dreams, their questions, anything they have. Dad can handle it because dad is a stable, safe force in my life, and I don't need to go other places to look for it, because guess what? I don't want my kids going to other places. I don't know what those other places are going to push on them, and I know that what I've got, maybe not the best, but it's pretty damn good. It's led me down my life in a decent direction so far, and I want to make sure that I'm passing that along to my kids. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I'm not sure if it was a coherent path that we went down. I didn't have any notes today whatsoever. So hopefully that was a good episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy just some of the thoughts that are going through my head. And like I said, if you have anything you want me to talk about, if you have any comments on this episode, click the little send me a message about the episode button in the description of this podcast. You could also go to the Instagram page, click the links, send me an email. And if you would like to be a guest on the Unhinged Father show, or Tough as I like to call it, just shoot me a message. Let me know. I'm happy to have dads, moms, professional psychologists, whatever the fuck you are. If you have something that you think would contribute to other listeners of this show, let me know. Love to have you on. But that's going to do it for this week. I hope everyone has a good rest of the day.